In the last video for the Python tutorials, I went through the if statement. It's a conditional statement, and I went through this program. I think that was the one. And remember how I used the comment out section to show how you can block out code if you want to use it later, or when you're done, I guess you can finally delete it. The big if statement at the end of the last video basically had this kind of a format, and remember there was this true-false statement that was checked, and if this statement was true, everything that was indented would get executed if that was true. Then the next else if statement, if that was true, this would get executed, and on it went. And then at the end, if there was something down here, it would execute it as well. So that conditional statement, you can check conditions based on a true-false status. Today, I want to bring in the last thing I want to show you in Python. This is the last thing. I mean, there is so much more in Python to learn in programming languages in general. But this is the last big part of programming that we're going to touch on in this course. They're called loop statements. Up until now, when we ran a program, it started at the top and it executed line by line all the way through each line, all the way to the bottom, and the program was over. Well, that's not very useful in real life. What if you want to do things over and over and over and over? And that's where a loop statement comes into effect. There are basically two types of loop statements in most programming languages, and there's different kinds or styles of looping, but the general is a definite loop. I want something to go and do a certain number of computer commands, a fixed or definite number of times. Do this 5 times and then we're done. Do this 20 times or 2 million times and be done. An indefinite loop is the same idea, do something over and over and over. We're not really sure how many times we want it done. It's indefinite. Might be 2 times, might be 10 times. It depends on what happens in our code or what the user, the person using our program, will do. So this video is trying to show those two simple concepts. And I've made 2 simple examples, one here and then down below I've sort of commented it out, and I'll show you in a bit. The first one is a fixed number of iterations. It's a definite loop. It's a common loop you'll see in other programming languages. It's called a for loop. There are different formats for running a for loop, and in Python, this is the most simple way that it works. I mean, again, in every programming language, the same old French verb thing. You learn a certain way, and then things change, or there's exceptions, or there's different ways to do things. But this is the most general, easy way to think of it. I start a loop, and I'm going from 1 to 5 in a range of numbers. So basically, it's going to start at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to do this a number of times. Now, your first reaction is it's going to do it 5 times. But it's not quite how it works. In order for it to do this, the RAM storage of a variable called count, and again, I could put an X here, I could put any variable I want, it doesn't really matter, but I've tried to make sure I pick variable names that are kind of like little English words. Some teachers will even do this, because this variable will count how many times it's going through the loop. I'm a little lazy, I guess I just put CNT. So here's how it goes. It's basically kind of like a true-false or a check statement. It's going to check up the condition each time it comes around, and it's going to go a certain number of times. It'll start at 1 and it'll go up to, and not 5, it'll actually go to 4. Each time it goes through the loop, it'll ask you to enter a name, then it will print out that name, but it will also print what value that counter variable has as it goes through the loop, and then a blank line. Then it'll come back and do it again, and do it again, do it again. Once that for loop is done, once these tabbed in statements are done, then the for loop is finished, and it will do this print statement, and out comes this. Let's see how it goes. I'm going to just sort of see if I can squeeze this over so you can watch the code as it runs. Pops up here, it says please enter your name. So the count is already done, and it's at this statement. So I'm going to just put in this, press enter, and this print statement comes up. Pass number 1 through the loop, your name is Meyer. Oops, it doesn't quite squeeze out there like that. So pass number CNT, that's this one, the 1, because the counter variable in RAM started at the value of 1. Then the name comes out, Meyer, because I said go to RAM and find that variable called name, and whatever was in there, send it to the screen. Now, please enter your name, and the cursor is waiting because it did this blank print statement right here, and it's back up through the loop, and it's sitting right there at that input statement, waiting for me to enter it in again. So I enter a name, and I press enter, and it goes through the loop again. Pass number 2. Now that's a 2, not a 1, because that variable has incremented by 1, and this time the name comes out. And again, the cursor's blinking there because it's waiting on the next pass. Okay, so I write in another name and I press enter. This time the count value in the loop is 3, passing through. Again, cursor sitting here. I press there. Now, be careful here when I press enter, watch what's going to happen. It says pass number 4 through the loop. This time your name is nobody. Then this print statement is executed. When you first look at this, you expect it to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When in fact, it doesn't do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's done. It never gets to the value 5. It's a bit of a weird exception thing the way Python handles it, but that's what it is. And then this for loop comes out. The for loop is done. The loop counter variable at the end of the value is, and whatever that value is for that variable, run off to RAM, find that variable, and whatever value it is, print it out. And in this case, it's a 4, not a 5 like you might expect. Okay, so that's the for loop. I'm going to leave it there. I'll stop the video because some people are saying my videos get too long. I'm going to scroll down in the next video and show you the other loop, which is an indefinite loop. Not a hard concept, the same idea. So you can practice using a for loop. You can put in anything you want here. And I have seen programs where there is maybe 50, 100, 200 lines of code that you want it to be executing each time. It's up to you, but as long as you have it tabbed in. If it's not tabbed in, then it doesn't get executed in that for loop. And so that format structure is important. That little space in here reminds you as a coder what's going on. All right, give it a try.